But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us red. What time is that coming over you? You're wishing upon a star. You're wishing it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. It is Ask George. We're through this upon you. As most people know, I'm busy rehearsing at the moment, and it's I just don't know where I'm going to be live and when I'm not going to be live. So you're just going to have to bear with us over the next couple of weeks. But big thanks to George, who is always on standby, ready to go with one of these. So welcome, George. Are you all right?
Yeah, and thanks for everybody joining in. I mean, Steve and I could have a good natter, but it would get a bit boring, wouldn't it, Steve?
It definitely would, yeah. It's better to go live. And as always, the viewers haven't let us down. Massive amounts of questions coming in. Hopefully, we'll get it through as many as we can. I will go in the order that I think is best, because sometimes some of the questions we'll have time and time again, and some of the subject matters we'll cover too many times on here. So great to have you on, George. I'm going to start with this one from Darren. George, did you ever come close to giving your season ticket up under Ashley?
Yes. The truth is I did, Darren, very close. There used to be 10 of us go together, and Saturday was our football day, and the 10 of us, we got our first seated season tickets, because we were all Gallagher Corner supporters, really, but we got our first season tickets for seats in the corner just beneath where the television thing is now. And then they moved across to the other side, just down from where the Sky television unit is. And then eventually offered us seats in by 1892, and we all took them. So there was a row of 10 of them, and Saturday was where football day. And I tended to pick them all up because being an undrinker, I was the ideal chauffeur. Went round and picked them all up, starting with Neil and Neil's mates and so on. And one or two from the university. And it was great. It was a lovely day. We went in very early in by 1892, as soon as it opened, so we could have our lunch and watch the first live game on TV before our game. And then we'd go up and watch the match, and the lads would order the half-time pints. We'd come down after the match, and have some tea and watch the second game before we went home, because they used to leave the telly on until the match was finished. I mean, it made a whole day. And God knows how much money was spent the tenaway. I mean, in the place, because the lads were drinking all the time and all having meals and other things in. And then when it got a bit shirty with Ashley, all the things he promised to do and never did, that used to upset me greatly. And then there was a burst when 6 of them left all in one go, and it was all over mushy peas. I tell this story. We're all like, we're fish and chips and mushy peas, or most of it did, for our lunch. And they went to the counter and got the fish and chips. We were told they couldn't have mushy peas. So they asked to talk to the manager. And when they talked to the manager, he said, well, Ashley won't let us buy the plastic containers for the mushy peas. Oh, we're talking about the little plastic cup thing, you know, probably a penny or less in the number that he was buying them in, and he wouldn't let them have them. And they came back to the table and said, that's it, he's not getting another penny off us. That's the end. And true to their word, they didn't come back, and then slowly a couple more left. And left just me and Neil, my son Neil. We're the only 2 out of the 10 that still go. Curiously, on Monday just past, I had lunch with one of the 10 who gave up. And that's Professor Atler. He is now from Glasgow University. He was a professor at Newcastle when he used to come with me, because we worked together. And Mehmet's from Turkey. And it was interesting to have lunch, because when I had lunch with them on Monday, I met the agent and one of the family of the new Turkish lad that we've just bought, Darren Yildiz, and had me ear bent about how good this lad was. Anyway, it ended up with me and Neil, and there was a period when Ashley and Lambias were doing some outrageous things, and outrageous things that involved, well, I know involved you sometimes, Steve, and certainly involved our Neil and Steve Hasty, and that upset me greatly. And I was on the verge of saying, oh, you know, let him have it, to hell with it, you know. But then the black and white blood came through me veins and said, no, you don't, you bloody fella, and your grandfather will be going mad thinking you're thinking of giving it up. Stay there, you'll be there when Ashley isn't. And that's how it's worked out. That's how it's panned out. But it's been a torturous 14 years, I've got to say. So, yes, I came close.
Okay, Barry Hogan often likes to dip into the history books when we do this show. He says, George, do you have any memories of Urvin Natris? Was he as good as my dad told me he was? Oh,
your dad wasn't telling lies. Yes, Urvin Natris was, in old-fashioned terms, in my early days, he would have been called what we'd call a utility player. Urvin Natris was such a good footballer, he could have played anywhere. But when he got into the first team, he made right back his position, and he was very good. Not long before, he was in the under-23s for England, and I don't think there was a pundit around that wasn't saying that he was headed for right back for the England first team. But then he got, and it makes us wince when I say it, because he got a very serious knee injury, and he did come back from the knee injury, but he wasn't the same Urvin Natris. He was a yard slow, and you could see it, and you could tell it wouldn't be long before he moved on. But yes, he was an absolutely brilliant player, and had the fortune of meeting him a couple of times, because I was still hanging around the club about when Urvin Natris was around. And a tragedy for him, tragedy for Newcastle as well, because had he continued, I think he would have gone on to be not just a great fullback, but probably a great captain for Newcastle as well, because he had that sort of ability. But yeah, so Barry, your dad didn't tell you wrong. He was a brilliant player, and as I say, one of those players who was gifted enough to play almost anywhere.
Yeah. Well, that's before my time, but I've heard lots of good stories about Urvin Natris. So there you go. That's straight from the horse's mouth. Barry, keep your questions coming in. Sparky D says, George, would you like to see Premier League use referees from abroad? Of course, this question is prompted by what we've been discussing already this week, which is the substandard officials that we've seen at St James's Park, and I think it almost hit a hiatus at the weekend, didn't it? It hit the heights at the weekend with the recent game against Ipswich. It was appalling, not just the referee but the two assistants as well.
Yeah,
they were awful.
You begin to wonder why the assistants are there. I've got to say, there were things happening in front of the assistants' eyes, 10, 15 yards away, like the bloke that wrestled down Willock. That only happened, and it was right in front of the linesman. If the referee didn't see it, certainly the linesman should have seen it. And he didn't put his flag up. He just stood like a dummy. No, the standard this season, generally, in the Premiership, has been appalling. And not just for us. There's been, watch games on television, see some ridiculous decisions. What's doubly annoying, though, is that they've got VAR and all this other technology that's supposed to be helping them. And for me, it's made the bloody things worse in many ways. I mean, we had that non-goal on Saturday, and it took VAR 5 minutes to decide what they were going to do. And then it took the referee 5 minutes in front of the TV screen to make his mind up. Now, the rules say a clear and obvious mistake. Well, if it's clear and obvious, why does it take 5 minutes? Clear and obvious should be 30 seconds, in my view. So, yeah, and add to that the complete ineptitude of the guys taking the matches now. The Willock incident, go back to that. VAR said it was a foul, something was done, and recommended he give him a warning. A warning. I mean, he wiped Willock out off the ball. How do you get a warning for that? And other things. There was the spats between various players on the field, which the referee just in the finish lost control. He was just turning his back on them and just letting them happen. So yeah, I have to say that when I watch European football, particularly the German stuff that gets on Sky, and I've started to watch a bit of Italian stuff because of Tonali, to hear what the Italians say about Tonali. And yeah, the standard of refereeing there is far, far superior at the moment. It breaks my heart to say so. It really is far superior. So if they can find a way of increasing the input from other places where referees have a better standard, I don't think that would do us any harm. The other thing is I still think that we waste all the talent of the senior players that sit around as pundits and all the rest of it. Why can't they have like seminars and times where they can all sit down together and chat and look at scenarios and get the input of professionals to say, well, I would call that as a foul, and see what the refs say, and vice versa, just to give them more experience. But unless they do something, the standard's just going to get worse. And I'm not even going to drift onto my pet subject, foul throws.
I think we all look for foul throws now, George, because of your reference about them every time on the show. Well, and again on Saturday, it was a terrible one Saturday, George. He didn't even go behind his head. It was like that. No, just drop the ball at the bottom. And I hate to say it, but even our players are no good at throw-ins now. The other one on Saturday was that the goalkeeper stepped out of his penalty area. I counted 6 times in the first half and at least 5 in the second half. And one of them, he wasn't just over the line. He was 2 yards up the pitch when he kicked it. And the linesman looking at him, So, no, awful. Yeah, keep an eye out for those bad throws, everybody. You'll see them. Okay, got a good question here from Phil. He says, question for George. Of which Northeast landmark are you most proud or think typifies is associated with our region? It's a great question for a person who held your position, George. Absolutely.
Well, we're so fortunate. There are so many, really. Some of them are instantly recognisable by everybody in the country, not just us locally. And you can't, in all honesty, miss the Tyne Bridge. and then even to go out to a beautiful coastline, you can't miss St Mary's Island. You can't miss Bamborough Castle. And the modern one, which of course all people talk about now, and even the aeroplanes divert that flight into Newcastle Airport so people on the plane can see it. That's the Angel of the North. Hated by many, but now it sticks out there with the rest. So we're very fortunate to have so much in the area that's could be called landmarks, and it's also pride for me. I mean, I haven't travelled the world in my professional career, and still talk to people all over the world online for different things, and still they have very, very fond memories of this area, particularly of the coastline and of the river. I mean, my friends in Greece still and in Singapore still talk fondly of the Tyne Bridge and of our coastline. When I first took some of my friends from that part of the world up from Tynemouth all the way up to Sea Houses, they couldn't believe we had that much golden sand, that many miles. It was, So yeah. I mean, we're very lucky, and but they all mean so much. They all mean so much.
Yeah, of course they do. I've got to be honest. I love, just Newcastle City Centre, Gray's Monument, and the Theatre Royal. I think, and just standing at the top of Grey Street and looking down is still one of the most underrated things that anybody can do visiting our city, because
and not just in England, in the UK, in the world, I would say.
Yeah,
that really is a heritage site. Yeah.
Mary Byers has texted in to say the most iconic landmark in Gateshead is no more than the infamous Tit Hill behind Gateshead Stadium. Thanks for that, Mary. And Darren says, nice to see you both. Thank you. He says, question for George, how much will Newcastle spend in the summer window?
Wow, good question, Darren. And an important one, because we've had 3 fallow windows, which are, difficult to fathom. And I'm still convinced that some of the reasons about PSR were a bit of a smokescreen. This window, for me, has got to be the window when we see how much Paul Mitchell's doing his job. I've got to say, I already have seen personally, and anybody that watched this looks at the under 18s, under 21s, the work that's been done and what he said he was going to do, bolstering the youth side of the club so that there was like a line of players coming through, and anybody who looks at what the under 21s and under 18s are doing at the moment, beating anything that puts in front of them, he's obviously done his job there. In fact, I had the opportunity to have contact with one of them just on Monday, the new lad from Turkey, who's from the same background as Emery, by the way, the Turkish player we used to have, so comes with a very good pedigree. I'd be disappointed if we spend less than 250 million. I'm prepared to put a price on it, because we've got to support Eddie, and he's had no support. No.
Yeah, no, he's done very well on a zero budget, which hopefully, as you say, will be rectified over this summer, and hopefully in the Christmas window as well. Moving forward. Ian, good evening. Good to see you in the chat. He says, when's the end of season due, and are we doing karaoke? No, what we're going to do, well, if you see the ad break, it's the 27th of June, mate. It's at the Irish Centre, and it's John Beresford, Steve Howie, and Steve Watson. And they're going to be interviewed by John Gibson. So you're getting a proper talk in, mate, for the paltry price of 20 quid. Obviously, the lads will be taking a fee, but we won't. And the rest of the money will be going to North Tyneside Age UK. We've done about 900 quid's worth of tickets. So we do need people to start buying tickets for that, which you can get from nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. But I'm quietly confident that we will be handing over a nice little check for Age UK North Tyneside at the end of season due. But there will also be a little acoustic set, this time from Adam Henderson from Lilac Lane, who'll be doing lots of Oasis songs, Ian, so you'll be able to get up and do a little bit of singing, I'm sure. But karaoke is penciled in for the Christmas due. That's what we're going to do. Gives everybody time to get up to my standard of singing. I think that's what I would say about that. Philip says, ask George, did you ever have friends from other clubs who you met up with? And if so, which clubs, home or away, I mean? So did you ever, when you were going on these away trips, driving the lads around, did you ever meet up with your pals who you met from work or people who supported other teams? Or
Yes,
yeah, you did.
yes. Because the lads had their own friends as well. The lads they all went to universities, various universities. So, if, for example, if we're going to London, they would all have a friend or two from university that lived in London and sometimes supported the team we're going to watch. The big one used to be West Ham because there was 5 or 6 of them in the back of the car I was driving. And they all had friends in London who were West Ham supporters. So it was quite a meet them the night before near our hotel and go with them to the match as well. So yes, and even going other places. Merseyside, Everton particularly, they had 1 or 2 friends there, and I had 1 or 2 friends who were Everton fans who were Liverpool magistrates, because I was the chairman of the bench at the particular time in North Tyneside, and I used to meet them and have a natter before the game as well, and hope and pray that the lads didn't get me into trouble while I was in Merseyside, appearing before my friend and on the bench on the Monday mornings. That's something I would have wanted to do, So yes, long answer to a good question. Yes, we used to meet people, and still some of them still friends. I mean, particularly those that used to be at university.
Gary, I'm going to come to your question, but we're not going to answer it because I do need to do some fillers. As everybody knows, I'm not going to be on air live for most of May, and there's lots of pre-recorded shows being done. And one of them will be a show with the Amigos, potentially one with George on his own. I haven't decided yet about that particular subject, about players coming and going. So we've already recorded one with Joe Allen. We will be having to do a pre-record for the Amigos, not for this Friday, but for the following Friday. But yes, that is one of those shows which won't be time sensitive. So you will be getting that question answered, but it'll be in due course with different shows. Okay, getting back to the referees, Ian says, do you think the atmosphere gets to referees at St James's Park? He was like a rabbit in the headlights. It's interesting. It was Michael Salisbury, I think, we had for the Ipswich game. Now, it's not, I think that was only his second Newcastle game. Maybe that can play its part. We know how intimidating it can be as for players and for visiting players, George. So if a referee's getting it wrong and people are singing, 52,000 people are singing, you don't know what you're doing. I can imagine if you're not made of a certain metal, you're gonna get a few butterflies, aren't you?
And that's the polite one, yes. Yeah, I mean. I think it could be. It's not a bad question because when St James's is in full song, it's a heck of an atmosphere, and we've seen big teams, crumble in it. I mean, I couldn't help but laugh at PSG at Arsenal last night, and people saying how well they played. Well, they were going to play us off the park at St James's Park, and hardly got a touch. And I've no doubt that the atmosphere, the absolutely electric atmosphere before that match and during that match had a lot to do with it. So the referee has to experience that as well. But I've got to say that the amount of refereeing they do, the amount of games they do, and to be brutally honest, what they get paid nowadays, then if they're not up for it, they should be sorted out. But it's a good question. I think it could be a factor. There's no doubt about it. I think I've noticed that, for example, when linesman's near our side of the field at St James's, when they hesitate, it's sometimes because of the reaction to the crowd. You see the flag going a little bit up and then back in, and then a little bit up and back in. And then when the referee makes a decision, the linesman makes the same decision with his flag. And I'm sure a bit of that's the reaction from the crowd as well. So but goodness gracious, the people that run the management thing should be able to organise things for them to get support how to cope with that in their careers, surely. I mean, in days gone by, I can remember older referees who used to love it. Going back as far as Arthur Ellis and Leon Luty and Mike Dean used to love it because he used to make the game about him rather than the football.
I remember the song. It's all about you. It's all about you.
That's right. That's right. So it's a good question. Yes, I think it's the answer is that probably does get to some of them.
Yeah, definitely. Ian, good to see you, as I said in the chat. He says, I've got a question for my good friend George. In your time playing and supporting the Toon, have you ever seen any other midfielder with the stamina and engine of Sandro Tonali? I can't think of anyone myself. I mean, I'm going to say Gary Speed and Rob Lee are the only two midfielders that I can think of that come anywhere near Sandro Tonali. I think he's up there with them two, and he's not even played as many games as those two, but those two were superb. Box to box, Rob Lee's the best central midfielder I think we've ever had, and he scored lots of goals as well. So, great creator of goals. But Tonali is quickly getting to that. He's at that level, and he's won a trophy already.
Yeah, and he has something that they didn't have. He has that extra yard of pace. I've not seen a player as quick across the turf as Sandro Tonali is, including all his other skills. And there was time in the game against Palace, he went from the corner of our box right to their far corner flag in one run and left everybody staggered. And he still was up for more within seconds later. I can tell you the Italian media, when they talk about him when he's playing for Italy, they talk about the Newcastle Macchina. And Macchina in Italian is machine, the Newcastle machine. So that, however, in terms of being the best, you missed one out, Steve. I thought he would have been first. I think little Pedro's not far away either. Slightly different style, but still box to box and a big threat. So we've had some good ones, and going further back in history, we had a one, but we never seen the full extent of him, and that was little Tony Green. Tony Green was immense and had the pace as well, but unfortunately, we never got to see his full potential because he was taken out by injury too soon. So he would be lucky, but I agree that Ian, it's a good question. It's Sandro Tonali is, and I don't mind saying, is one of my favourite players at the moment. His technique, he rarely misses a tackle, and if he doesn't get a tackle in, he knows how to shepherd the player out of danger. He's absolutely brilliant, and so I can't not speak to Ian without saying, loved Emily, Ian. Good to talk to you all.
We've got 200 of you watching on Twitter. If you're watching for the first time, this is NUFC Matters. We do 7 shows a week. It is free to subscribe to the channel, so go over to YouTube, search NUFC Matters, hit the subscribe button. We have now hit, and I will be doing a members update probably over the next insight into where we're at, but we're at 52,910 subscribers. Wow. I mean, it's an amazing increase. We're average about 50 new subscribers a month, and it's an honour to do that, and to continue. We're well over our capacity of the ground now, which is lovely. But thanks everybody for tuning in. We're gonna have a quick break. We'll be back after this, and if you need a reminder as to when the end of season due is, it's coming right up. Big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Email, info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel, UK Coach Holidays. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew, driver and courier, local family company. 3-star plus quality hotels, no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the technical side of things. And if you want to listen to us as a podcast, you can find us on Sport Social Podcast Network. We're also available on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to support the channel, then hit the subscribe button. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the like button, which is the thumb underneath this video, and click share to your social media. You could also take out a monthly membership or an annual membership at nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. For the lifetime membership, you can pay £25 and get a pen, a beer mat, a fridge magnet, a badge and a keyring and your membership card and entry into the monthly draw. Some events coming up: 27th of June 2025, the end of season party. Beresford, Howie and Watson will be at the Tyneside Irish Centre with Joe Allen in aid of North Tyneside Age UK. You can get your tickets for that one from nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk or from Woucher. No Covers takes place at the Cluny. That's on the 29th of June, midday till 3:45, and tickets are £10 from theclooney.com or newcastlelegends.com. Northern Horizon, a Blake 7 convention, takes place on the 9th of August, 10 till 4 at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Come and be some of the cast and crew in aid of Age UK North Tyneside Dementia. Tickets from nufcmatters.co.uk. An evening with Peter Beardsley and Chris Waddle takes place on Friday the 23rd of January 2026 at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. You can get tickets from the box office 0844 249 1000 or from tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk. And Bad Manners are back in the Northeast at the O2 City Hall, Friday the 30th of January 2026. Tickets from ticketmaster.co.uk. And we have copies of The Entertainer's book, signed by Les Ferdinand, available from nufcmatters.co.uk. Emily passes on her best to George. I'll have to read that out, otherwise Ian will go mad, saying you never pass on messages. It becomes like a personal chat for Ian, though, so I've got to be selective what I pick. Alan Little, good evening, Alan. He says, hi lads and all. Chelsea sign a shirt sponsorship deal till the end of the season. 4 games. Does George smell a rat like me?
Yes, absolutely. You need to find to see who it was and what other connections they've got with Chelsea or Chelsea directors. Yeah, that is really is a weird one. Yes, when you get a club that does things like buy their own ladies' team and buy their own hotel and do things like that, you can't help but look behind what's happening and think that there's something shady. So, I've got no idea what it is, but you guarantee it won't be done without a reason, and that reason will be it probably gets them round a hoop in PSR or something like that by the amount of money that goes in.
Okay, Gary asked this question earlier. What is the greatest game of football you've ever seen that doesn't include our club?
Oh, it's of course. When Neil was a teenager and eventually decided he would go abroad for a holiday with us, and we used to go to Spain, and we always used to make sure we went when the Barcelona had their summer tournament, and that was a great festival of football. And there was a final of that particular tournament, which was Barcelona themselves playing Eintracht Hamburg, the Frankfurt rather, in that final. And I think the final score was about 6-5 to Barcelona. But what a game of football! What skill, goals, brilliant goals, and all the rest of it. And across the pitch, both sides playing absolutely brilliant football. So yeah, that sticks in my mind, and I do remember how Neil and I talked about that game for the rest of our holiday, whenever he was nearby, of course. But that sticks out, I've got to say.
Yeah, Blue Rhythm Boy said World Cup 66 must be up there for George. Mark Bayer says, Gary, for me, it's the 1982 World Cup quarter-final between Brazil, Italy. Brazil, massive favourites to win. Up stepped Paolo Rossi with a hat-trick to win it for Italy. 3-2, still got the VHS taped off the TVs. Lots of games.
Yeah, well, I limited myself to clubs, but if you're going to go to the internationals, the Holland-Germany World Cup was take some beating as well. The Van Basten final was kind of,
That's one of mine, Mark. I've got that. I've still got that on video. I managed to get it transferred onto digital as well. The 6-6 with Tranmere. Amazing game, that. Amazing. Was it Mickey Quinn, Gavin Peacock, and John Aldridge were hat tricks in that game? I had a few pints of lager in the Mersey Clipper that night as well, Mark. I was there. And then it was 7-6 on penalties. An amazing game. That. Sparky says, what is your favourite and least favourite sport apart from football?
Oh, favourite sport apart from football? I'm quite a cricket fan, I've got to admit.
I thought you were stumped. I thought you were looking stumped there, George, but you got there in the end.
Well, I wasn't stumped because I was toying with cricket and rugby league.
I said stumped because of cricket.
Oh, silly sod. Yes, sorry.
Go on, I'll bail you out.
I'd still like cricket, traditionalist, but I've grown to love rugby league. And the Magic weekend this weekend, if I get the chance, I'll be going to see some of those matches because they know how to treat their fans, and they know how to use the technology. If you want to go and see if they are being used properly, go and watch the rugby league referees and their fans, and the fans hear everything. We hear nout. Just the referee at the end sometimes saying "dardy dardy dardy da" because of this, but no description of what they've been watching. Whereas the rugby league, the referees describe what they're watching and ask for the pictures, and you hear all of that, and I think that's fantastic. Least favorite sport? Oh, that's hard because I'm really keen on sport. I've got to say it. I'm less in favour these days of horse racing than I used to be.
Yeah.
Brought up in a family that loved horse racing, but as the years have gone on, I've got to say it's waned in my. I wouldn't go off, get out and go to Gosforth Park to see that. Where I might go to Gateshead to see a Tuppence Halfpenny football match, I wouldn't go to Gosforth Park to see horse racing. It's just disappeared from my screen, I'm afraid.
Mark Bayer says women's beach volleyball is my favourite. Men's beach volleyball is my least favourite. And Mary Byers has texted in to say men's beach volleyball is her favourite and women's beach volleyball is her least favourite. So there we go. Almost as if you're on the same wavelength, those two people.
Absolutely.
Who texting in.
Absolutely.
Ask George what he thinks of Miley. Last season he played a lot because Tonali was not able to play on, but Saturday when he came on, thought he was the best player on the park. Never missed a pass. Yeah, Miley. I mean, Miley's one of those kind of players which is creating a lot of social media debate. He played some wonderful games when we needed him to play. Yeah. What's your feelings on Miley?
Oh, I think star of the future, Steve. It's straightforward, and I'm not too upset about what's happening. I think he's been nursed very carefully by Eddie Howe and his team. If you look at his development physically, when he first came on, he was a beanpole. If you look at him now, he's a bit of a unit now, and that's not by accident. And my other thing about him was that I've said since he started, if they could find him another yard of pace, he wouldn't just be a good player; he would be a world-class player, like Denali. And I think that the signs for me, as personally, was that that's coming as well. Because I noticed when he came on, there were a couple of times he was able to make up ground and recover his own position, and then make up ground and get a tackle in where before he might have been a yard slow. So I think he's being nursed very cannily by Eddie and his team, and I fully envisage that Lewis Miley will be a star of the future for us for a while, for quite a while.
Yeah, okay. Denise, good evening. I like athletics, darts. I was brought up on rugby, don't understand it. I love all sports, never been to a horse race, no desire to. Football always top. And Mark and his beach volleyball, yes. And it's one of those things, isn't it? Beach volleyball. There's ups and downs in lots of sport, and that's one of them. George, have you ever played bowls? Tom Dixon wants to know. With a white jack. Have you played green bowling?
Yes, I have. My brother-in-law used to be president of the Thumberland Bowling Association. So when Jim was getting ready for the season and he used to go and have warm-ups, I quite often used to go with him and used to quite enjoy it. But never enough to want to do that instead of going to the match on a Saturday or at the weekend. So yes, I've played bowls, enjoyed it. And as I say, with my family, big involvement, you could, it was, impossible not to talk about it occasionally. And certainly when it was on television, that's something I'd have a quiet watch when it was on television. So yes, I've played it and enjoyed it.
Yeah, all right. Denise says Miley is always going to be popular as he's a Geordie, but he needs time, and Howe will manage it correctly. He'll get better and faster. Howe said she's the furrier and going nowhere, so let's trust it. All right, I didn't understand the last bit, but anyway, I get you just about Miley. Gary's
trying to see the future, and
the future, right? Okay, it's a typo. George, with speculation regarding some of our more senior players. Oh yeah, that's the one we're going to do in the podcast. What's the longest away trip you've done, George, and how long did it take? Tom says.
Oh, you probably know what I'm going to say. It's Plymouth. It always was Plymouth. My family always, because of the naval connections, always had a thing about Plymouth as a city anyway. And if Newcastle played Plymouth in any competition, league, cup, whatever, they would want to go. And indeed, on occasions, hired a minibus so we could all go together, for God's sake. So, until the motorways systems got up, it used to be tortuous. It was a weekend job. It wasn't just a one-day job. So Plymouth, I think, is the biggest, is the longest one. Some summers when I used to go and stay with my uncle in Aberdeen, his factory that he played, their team played in the second division of the Highland League, and sometimes I'd go with him on that. And it would be a trip up to somewhere like Bucky Thistle or Banff or somewhere like that, which was equally a long way away. So I've tried it at both ends of the country, but Plymouth was always the longest one.
Yeah, okay. Tom Dixon says, George, with Joe Linton set to miss Newcastle's final push for Champions League due to a knee problem. It's not thought to be serious, but advice is to sit out the remaining 4 games. Who would you start? He's saying, would you start Gordon? What would you do? What are you feeling? I mean, it's different. It's different games, isn't it? Horses for courses.
Yeah. For me, right? In terms of the midfield, we're lucky enough to have Miley and to slot in, and I don't think Eddie thinks that Longstaff suspend force either, mind. So we've got choices that we could slot into the midfield bit. As to the left-sided bit, well, the obvious answer is Gordon. It's got to be. He's. Do
you think he'll stick with Willock at the weekend, or do you think he'll go more for Miley? Do you think Longstaff? You're mentioning Longstaff there. Do you think he might chuck that curveball in if Longstaff's up for it and go for Longstaff? Because
of who we're playing, he'll want to hold it a bit. So that might be Longstaff. On the other hand, if he wants to compete with Brighton with pace, then he'll put Willick in, because that's what Willick brings that the others don't have. He already has the pace, and when he gets loose, he can do a lot of damage as he's going forward. So Willick's, he's in there now, and Eddie's using him. But with it being Brighton, it wouldn't surprise me to see Longstaff come out the shadows or Miley be used.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting, interesting couple of games. The next two games could determine whether we get Champions League or not. Okay, John Askew asked some questions at the start of the show. Come to yours now, John. He says, I'm not optimistic about Sunday due to possibly being overrun in midfield without Joe Linton. Are you hopeful of a result? I mean, we'll be talking in depth about it on Friday, of course, but are you hopeful, George, about getting something out of that Brighton game?
I am. However, be careful. I'm Mr. Optimistic, as the lads often know. But I do seriously believe that on this occasion, because it's already into the conscious of the players how important it is when they're talking and when in everything they're doing. I just feel a bit more hopeful that they're likely to get something out of it this weekend than in the past. With Brighton, they're a bit of a bogey team, but they have a couple of players, and one particularly is Danny Welbeck, who always seems to save a good game against us. But I'm still not too fazed by that. I think we'll get something out of the game.
Yeah. John also says, does George think not being in Europe this season has helped Newcastle United's cause?
Well, yes. I mean, you can see. It showed that week when we had those 6 games wins, and unchanged team, and we went to Villa and turned in a lackluster performance. In my view, if we'd had another 2 or 3 days, that Villa result would be totally different. And that was like the benefit of not having Europe, because with having Europe, you very rarely get a whole week to get ready and practice and do tactics like Eddie likes. It's usually just a few days. So, yes, I think not having Europe this year has done with power of good.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Okay, another question from John. It's really a no-lose situation. If we don't make Champions League, then we'll be in competition that we can actually win next season. That would mean 2 trophies in a row. What does George think? It is a no-lose situation, I think, and I get where John's coming from with that question. If you are in the Conference League, worst case scenario, if you're in the Europa League, you would expect to make the latter rounds. You just look at the likes of Manchester United and Spurs this season, how poor those 2 teams are, and look at where they are. They're both in the semi-finals, George. So you can understand the logic there from John.
Yeah. I can see what John's getting at, but I've got to say, those that know me know that the greedy little duck wants the best prize. I don't want second best for Newcastle United. I want the best. So I want us in the Champions League if we can get it. It would be second best if we didn't. On the other hand, winning a trophy is winning a trophy. All those years ago, we won the Fairs Cup. And everybody in that donkey used to say, well, it's a Mickey Mouse trophy now, sort of thing. We'll go and win the Carabao Cup, and anybody and their uncle on television now laughing and saying about the Carabao Cup being a one-horse trophy. You can't win. All I know is that the silverware is in the cabinet. That's all that matters to me. And I would like to see the European trophy in the cabinet.
Yeah, me too. It would be nice. Serious question. Last one from John. There's concerns about the atmosphere in the stadium at the minute, but is a saturation of football making the product less special with negative consequences? Arsenal versus PSG wasn't good, supposedly. I mean, we're going to be talking a lot about this on the Amigos on Friday. There is certainly a feeling amongst supporters. Man City are leading a kind of fight against it. That there is almost like an initiative to get rid of season ticket holders and change it from middle class fans, I guess, to upper class fans. We went from kicking the working class out to middle class in football. Now we seem to be going the whole hog. So we will talk a little bit more about that on Friday. But concern about atmospheres and stadiums, George.
Yes, inevitably. Look at the semi-final on Sunday. All those blue seats that were empty. Manchester City fans just didn't go. And we're not talking about a few hundred. We're talking about a whole stretch of seats that were just were totally empty. And then when you dig in the background, I'm not going to it too far if they're going to talk about it on Friday, but there's all sorts of weird things happening with supporters up and down the country now, and particularly the City fans. And you only have to look at the marketing stuff, the questionnaires, the emails you get, we've had from the club, season ticket holders and members, all directed to one direction.
Yeah.
And that's upwards, not downwards, upwards. Corporate first, second, and last. I mean, even this year when I got my renewal, had a serious discussion with, depending on what the increase would be, with Neil and others, that whether we should bother. And that was serious. And it's not going to get better, that's for sure. It's going to go the other way. And once you do that, of course, you get areas of support that don't want to sing, don't want to be involved in the atmosphere like that. I've got to say, there are bits of Bartley 92 around me, people who hardly utter a word, never mind get involved in the singing and chanting. So, you know, it's a real question. But it's the other poser to the question is what do the owners want? And whether we like it or not, they want money. They want revenue, and it's got an inevitable end to it as far as I can see, and will change the face of football eventually. I've no doubt about that.
Yeah, no, I've no doubt about it at all. Brownian says ITV kept making excuses for Man City fans not turning up on Sunday. Pathetic. Yeah, it was really embarrassing that. But then there was a point made again on the professionals on Sunday, I think it was, by Mitch and Stu.
Yeah.
That I think they'd been to 29 finals. The Man City fans.
Well, finals and semi-finals, all at Wembley. Yeah.
So, I've got to be honest, George. Again, I would just scrap semi-finals at Wembley. It should be. We should go back to the old days where it's at Hillsborough or Old Trafford or
Hillsborough and Villa Park did very nicely for all of us.
Newcastle would be a great venue for a semi. I know it's not as big, but when they get the new stadium, it would be, it would be great as well. Barry says, George, do you think that any of our recent big signings, the younger players, will make it? I'm really disappointed, he says, with Harrison Ashby and Alfie Harrison. They aren't breaking down the door. I mean, Ashby's been a strange one. He had a bit of an involvement in the first team and then got put out on loan. Alfie Harrison, though, this season seems to be doing rather well. The 21s, 23s, whatever you want to call them, have done quite well this season. Maybe as I
opened with it, they're talking about the transfers in the summer. The one thing that Mitchell has done is increased the input into that level of the club with some really good players, and they're winning lots of matches. And the guy from Manchester City they've just been talking about is doing really well now, along with Keogh. Of course, the Australian is now making strides again and looking like the player we thought we bought a couple of years ago. So it's so I think there are some stars coming through, and we might get some surprises. And to be perfectly honest, they've got the right manager to give them the opportunity. If Eddie sees somebody that's good enough, he gives them the opportunity, and I think we've got that all that pleasure to come, in my opinion.
Okay, we've got about 5 or 6 minutes left. Darren says, George, do you think Newcastle will win the Premier League in the next 5 years? I say yes, 100%. Yes,
me too. I'd like to think within the next 3 years, actually. I'd be amazed if we're not knocking on the door in the next couple of years.
I think with 3 good signings in the summer, Newcastle, with a bit of luck with injuries, will be in contention next year. There or thereabouts. And I think success breeds success. And I think as well, on top of that, George, if we're doing well in the Champions League, 8 games in the Champions League, that as well as, it's experience for this team. But we need players coming in. We need some really good teams coming in. That's what we need. We need
we need players who are going to go into the first team. We don't need players as backups or anything like that. Eddie needs players he can put straight into the first team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
People forget he's still got 9 players in that squad who used to play for Bruce when Bruce would play them. And some of them Bruce wouldn't even play. So he's that's how well he's done. But he needs to have the backup of some really, really strong first team players, not backup players, first team players. And that would make Newcastle a different animal altogether, because then we would get people off the bench that could make a difference, which is one of the places we've struggled in the last couple of years. We've been fine, but haven't had the power on the bench. That would help that as well. So the whole thing would add young people to that as well. So yes, I think we need that strength that goes straight into the first team and not backups.
Blue Ribbon Boy says, with the Forest owner having to step back to allow them to compete in the Champions League due to dual ownership of clubs, does George agree with multi-club ownership? And does he think PIF will buy another club?
I'd be surprised if they don't. They're into football and sport big at the moment. It would surprise me if they didn't. And multi-ownership thing is about control and rules. The Forest are saying now why their owner, because of his involvement in Greece, couldn't do what he's got to do. But it hasn't hurt Forest that much, really. But I can't see why there's a problem with it. If it's developing football and people are monitoring what's going on, and there's nothing underhand or shady happening, then I've got no problem with it. I'd rather the football authorities did something about the other things that's happening in football. We have all these chats about PSR and all that stuff about money. The one column that's never shown is debt. And when we talk about the big six, they're the big six in everything, and they're the big six in debt. £1 million in debt. Tottenham are at this moment in absolutely perilous position because they don't have any cash. And they're going to be in real bother because Levy's got no more money. He's had it. And they're all the same. Tottenham $1 billion in debt. Manchester United $1 billion in debt. Arsenal $1 billion in debt. Liverpool not far from $1 billion in debt. That's a column that gets seriously avoided by the football authorities, where we don't have that problem. We don't have that worry. Ashley didn't do him any favours, but the one favour he did do, he handed over a club that wasn't in debt in any way, or shape, or form. So, and PIF aren't going to let that happen. That's for sure. But I don't see multi-club ownership being an issue. Ratcliffe used to be involved in Monaco. I don't know if he still is, but it really just needs monitoring. And as long as the authorities put in place the rules that they want and people obey those rules, that's fine.
Okay, I think we've got time for at least one more question. Let's squeeze 2 in. Denise says, does George think we'll be better prepared for the Champions League this season? It won't be the group of death because obviously it's a different formula now. But do you think we'll be better prepared after being in it a couple of years ago?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was a learning curve for Eddie as well. I mean, he hadn't that much European experience, let alone anything else. The players too. Don't forget the players like Tenali and so on have got huge international experience as well as team experience. But I think we'll be twice as well prepared as we were the last time. The last time, remember, was, I think, for most people, if they're honest, put their hands on hearts and say it was a bit of a surprise that we got there. And we got everybody saying, well, we got there about 2 years too early. Well, I think the experience did good, and I think we'll be better prepared for it the next time. Certainly will, and it'll have done Eddie and his team a lot of good as well in preparing for the continent.
Last question, George. If you could manage the world's best five-a-side team, who would your 5 players be? Good question.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Easy one.
Yeah. Well, in goal would be the old Italian goalkeeper whose name I can't spit out at the moment. I'd have two deep players would be. I'm going to go right back now. I'd have Big Frank Brown controlling everything around the middle of the back, and probably Sandro Tonali picking up in front of him. That's 3. And up front it would be Shearer and Beardsley.
Shearer, Beardsley, Tonali, Brennan, and who was your goalkeeper? Dino's off.
Buffon. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Great stuff. That hour has flown over. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I will be live tomorrow night. It will be Ask Gibbo. And then, so that'll be 6 o'clock. And then the Amigos, pencil it in for now as a 6 o'clock start on Friday. If I can get on any earlier, I will. But at the moment, it's a 6 o'clock start. As for the weekend, Saturday morning, it'll be 8:30 for the Three's a Crowd podcast. And then Sunday, before the Brighton game, it will be the Professionals at 11 a.m. I'll then have to pre-record the Fans Forum on Sunday night after the game, which will then go out on Monday. And Tuesday next week, you'll have Talk of the Tune, which will be pre-recorded. And then Wednesday next week will be the Joe Allen show about which players he would keep and which players he would let go. And then next Thursday, I'll be live at 11 o'clock in the morning. And that will be the Gibbo show. So that's where I'm up to. See, I've planned it all. It's there in my mind. I'm almost getting there with a full week next week. So at least you know you're still going to have your fix of NUFC Matters. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I do appreciate it. It's really kind of you to take the time. And I enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah, cracking night. And I'll see you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock with Gibbo. And I'll see George on Friday. Take care, mate. Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.